Welcome back to We're Not Doing a Podcast. Just when you think the baseball season is dead, it just pulls you right back in as the Yankees and Mets have shockingly announced that Jason Dominguez and Ronnie Mauricio will be in Major League Baseball uniforms this Labor Day weekend. Jared, I asked you this, and I really hope I don't get very angry with your answer. Who is the bigger deal going to the major leagues? Jason Dominguez or Ronnie Mauricio?
This is probably one of the easiest questions you've asked me. One prospect has a nickname and the other prospect doesn't. And the nickname for this prospect is the Martian. So to answer your question, Mark, the answer is Jason Dominguez. But the reason why I think it's more anticipated is because not that I necessarily think both farm systems are all that great right now, but the Mets do at least have more potential prospects on the way, whereas, quite frankly, every single Yankee prospect of late, other than Anthony Volpe, who actually did hit a big 3-run homer in the game today against the Detroit Tigers, just have not panned out. And you're banking on Jason Dominguez being some sort of savior, because when you look at the New York Yankees, when it comes to spending, they're just not going to go out and spend big money on free agents. The proper way to build a team is through the farm system, but if you're not going to supplement it through free agency or any big-time trade, you better hope that you hit big on some of these prospects. And Jason Dominguez is a huge part of what the New York Yankees are trying to do, whereas with Ronnie Mauricio, I think he has a chance to be good, but if he doesn't pan out, it'll suck, but the Mets will just move on to another one of their prospects that they have waiting in the wings, where Jason Dominguez, to me, he really needs to be good. And Brian Cashman's job, not that he'll ever lose it, it is really riding on the success of Jason Dominguez when he makes his major league debut.
Well, Cashman's job is riding on the success of Dominguez, riding on the success of Volpe, riding on the success of Spencer Jones. I mean, it is the young players that his success and job legacy really depends on. But the answer has to be Dominguez because, one, he's such a mystery. No one knows what to expect of him. He hit 400 in AAA. Granted, it was only 9 games. Hit 250 in AA as a 20-year-old. He is the higher-ranked prospect than Mauricio. But most importantly, like I mentioned, his age. He is going to be the youngest Yankee to play since Melky Cabrera. It's a win-win for Cashman and Dominguez, no matter what happens over Labor Day weekend with Dominguez, because think of it. If he doesn't play well, it's, hey, he's too young. He's only 20. He needs some more time. And if he does play well, holy crap, this team could go from Aaron Judge to Jason Dominguez. So it's a win-win regardless. But Jared, I asked you this before we shift to the next topic. With Ronnie Mauricio, he's not as highly heralded as guys like Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos. Those guys made the major leagues already. Those guys have not had successful major league careers under any circumstances. Does that concern you going forward for Mauricio?
Of course it does. And it was announced today that the Mets made some major front office changes, and which I've been saying constantly on this podcast, they don't develop players well at all. And that's why with the Mets, when they made the trades at the deadline, you might as well buy a bunch of lottery tickets. You hope 1 or 2 stick, because if you have 2 or 3 good prospects and none of them hit, you're out of luck. So clearly the Mets have to change what they've been doing in terms of their player development. And you hope today with some of these moves that the Mets made, that's a step in the right direction. I'll believe it when I see it, because the Mets have never been a franchise that has had sustained success. And the way you have that sustained success is by developing players nonstop year after year after year. The Braves do it. The Astros do it. The Dodgers do it. The Rays do it. The Mets, and quite frankly, even the Yankees too. It's not like the Yankees are a model of success these days. So the Mets simply need to get better at player development right now.
All right, Jared, cough it out on that one. But I'll tell you this.
Can't breathe.
We go from good news now to bad news when it comes to New York baseball teams. And we'll just state why we've been trying to avoid watching games for so long and trying to avoid talking to them as much. And one of those examples have been the Yankees' acquisitions of Harrison Bader and Josh Donaldson. Going into last season, the Yankees acquired Josh Donaldson in a trade involving Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez. And during the trade deadline, they traded pitcher Jordan Montgomery, who's been nothing short of being the next Greg Maddux all of a sudden, ever since he was traded for Harrison Bader. Between the two moves, now that they are both off the Yankees roster, with Josh Donaldson being released and Harrison Bader being picked up off waivers by the Cincinnati Reds, who was the worst acquisition for the Yankees, Bader or Josh Donaldson?
It's probably Josh Donaldson, because Yankee fans are going to remember the futility of Josh Donaldson much more than Bader. Bader really just ended poorly. He had a really good postseason last year for the Yankees, but it's not like Brian Cashman should be taken off the hook for the Harrison Bader trade, because as you just mentioned, Mark, Jordan Montgomery has turned into an underrated Cy Young contender when he went to the St. Louis Cardinals and this year for the Texas Rangers. It just seems like Brian Cashman just continuously has made bad move after bad move. But when we look back at these two moves 4 or 5 years from now, we're ultimately going to say Josh Donaldson was a significantly worse Yankee than Harrison Bader. And look, I know you'll probably have a softer spot for Harrison Bader because you love the local aspect of him. You also love the swag he brought to the team. I have a feeling you are going to hate Josh Donaldson till the end of time.
I'm not going to hate Josh Donaldson to the end of time. It's more of Brian Cashman is to blame, because the problem with Josh Donaldson for me is, one, it's not really his fault. I mean, he came into a terrible situation. This was a team that was priming for a championship last season, and you're bringing him in when it didn't make sense. You're paying him all this money. You're not getting a guy like Manny Machado in 2019. Then you get a guy like Josh Donaldson, significantly older, kind of in the twilight of his career, to say the least, and you're going to justify that is going to make you more championship ready. The Yankees have really failed at third base since Alex Rodriguez left the team. You had Chase Headley, who was fine, Miguel Andujar, who started off solid, then they just couldn't develop him. Story as a tale of time at this point. And then you have Gio Urshela, who is good, nothing great, not someone you want in the playoffs. And then Josh Donaldson, who's just been frankly terrible. So I think for Donaldson, yes, he was really bad. Yes, there were reports of him being a clubhouse cancer. But the concern for me is you'll never hear from Brian Cashman or anyone in the Yankees front office what justified them acquiring him and paying the amount they were paying him and not getting Manny Machado a few seasons before.
Well, the guy they really should have gotten was Bryce Harper, because the Yankees need left-handed power. That was really the move they needed to make, and it resulted in that not happening because the Yankees went out and acquired Giancarlo Stanton, who I ultimately feel that move has completely destroyed this franchise over the past 6 years, because 2017, they were one game away from going to the World Series. That team overachieved, and that offseason, they acquired Giancarlo Stanton, and it just hasn't worked out since. And I know he's done well in the playoffs at times, but that move really hasn't worked out. Now, I want to ask you, Mark, going back to the prospects that the Mets and Yankees called up, do you actually think that with these prospects coming up, there's a level of added excitement to the final month of the baseball season in New York?
100%. Because, like I said, it's a win-win situation for the Yankees. People have been waiting to see Jason Dominguez since 2020 when he was labeled as the next Mickey Mantle, the next Mike Trout. Probably not going to be the case, but people are still excited for him. And people are still excited for the Yankees. The Yankees did this in reality for one reason and one reason only, and that is to sell tickets. That's the reason why Hal Steinbrenner does anything. So will I be watching every Dominguez at bat? Of course. I'm curious. I am genuinely fascinated to see what he could provide at this level. I've seen him in person at spring training. And boy, did I like what I see. Hit an absolute moonshot into left field. But what he could do in the final month of the season, no one has high expectations, but they're going to be watching every single Dominguez at bat. That is for sure. And you can't say the same for Ronnie Mauricio.
Well, it adds a layer of excitement to tune in and watch, but quite frankly, I'm just so ready for this baseball season to be over with.
If he was not on the Yankees roster, people would not be watching Yankee September baseball this year. And the fact that he is, that's giving a reason for them to watch. There will be more people watching the September games if Dominguez is in the lineup every day than they were in August. I'll guarantee it. And I'm looking forward to seeing Yes Network release their ratings in that case.
Yeah, I guess. But quite frankly, it adds a layer of excitement to watch some of these prospects, but I am so done with the 2023 baseball season.
Well, that's because you're not a Yankees fan.
And as a Met fan too, I honestly, I'll tune in to see Mauricio, but I'm done with baseball. I'm done with baseball in 2023. We're in New York. Just bring on football. The baseball season is just too long. I can't take it anymore. This season has been an utter misery from both teams' perspectives. Let's move on from baseball and get to football because it just seems like baseball season never, ever ends. And that's something you told me a long time ago. And quite frankly, it is so damn true. It literally never will end the baseball season. I really can't take it anymore.
All right. One thing in New York in sports that is currently going on now that is something to watch and something to watch in person where you don't feel too guilty is the 2023 US Open. One of the best spectacular events. It is a spectacle. That is the word I was looking for the Big Apple. One of the greatest achievements in New York City history that they were able to get this done for just 2 weeks out of the year. That giant facility only used for 2 weeks out of the years. Jared, are you a true New Yorker if you've never been to the US Open at least one time in your life by the time you're like 30 years old?
Okay, now I'm going to say this as someone who has been to the US Open a bunch of times, and I was at the US Open this week. I love going to the US Open. Does it make you a true New Yorker if you haven't been to the US Open? Absolutely not. Do you watch the US Open on TV? The people that go to this event, and I love going to the event, are some of the biggest tryhards in the world. They're so fake. They're so elitist. They're so full of themselves. They probably go out and buy their nicest outfit of the year. They try to look as good as they possibly can when, quite frankly, they're all probably full of shit. I love going. I love spending time there. I like doing my own thing there, but you see it on the TV. They're fake people. They're fake people. So a true New Yorker does not have to go to the US Open. This is me always thinking of the common man here on this podcast. I always love looking out for the little guy. True New Yorkers do not have to go to the US Open. Great event, but you are a true New Yorker if you haven't been to the US Open. So
I'm going to disagree with you. Hard disagree with you. It is a quintessential New York event. It is like going to the financial district. It is like having a good slice of pizza and knowing where to get that good slice of pizza. It is like knowing not to get your bagel toasted when you go to a great bagel shop. The US Open is a staple for New Yorkers. If you have not been by the time you're 30 years old, I can't consider you a New Yorker. I just can't. You don't even have to like tennis. It's such a beautiful event to walk around. You got the fountains, you got the lights, you got the events. It is one of the things that New York does so well, and the amount of jobs they're able to create, the amount of revenue they're able to provide for the city every year by doing it. It is a lovely event. I hope it stays in New York City forever. It is one of the top 5 best things that New York City does is the US Open and Arthur Ashe. You could thank Mayor Dickens for that. It is his greatest contribution to the society of New York City was getting the US Open in New York City and staying in New York City with the facility they have. And one of the things that I don't know, since you're kind of in a Long Island, New York bubble, if you talk to people who are not from the tri-state area about going to the US Open, it's like going to Mars. It's a bizarre event where people don't really come from all over the world to see it. It's really, if you're from New York, you go and see it, or from the area of New York, you go and watch it. And that's what makes it so interesting. I mean, I've met people in Florida, never been to the US Open. Texas, never could imagine going to the US Open. California, would love to go, but way too far. It's just a New York exclusive event, it feels like. And it is such a wonderful occasion. And I always recommend everyone to go at least once, even if you're just going to the side matches. You don't have to buy the expensive, overpriced Arthur Ashe tickets.
Well, that's the thing. When you see it on TV, it's an event for the elitists. There's so many true New Yorkers who are firefighters, who are cops, who work in construction. They're not going to the US Open. Those are true New Yorkers. Those are actual New Yorkers who try to keep this city standing upright, which at this point, it really isn't standing upright at this point. So at this moment in time, the US Open is probably the only good thing about New York City. I love going. This was my first time going this year in about 6-7 years, and I had a great time.
And as the common man, you were sitting in a box sponsored by JP Morgan, one of the largest banks. Common man.
Well, what I do for a living, I'm always thinking of the common man because I actually experience it in the real world. So that's from that perspective. I'll leave it at that. But I'm always thinking of the common man because I experience it on a daily basis. So true New Yorkers do not have to go to the US Open. And that's just the way I feel when it comes to that.
All right, moving on from there, we have 2 topics that are going to make Jarrett very angry. And heck, why do we watch this podcast anyways? It's for that. We all know. The first one is, this has not been confirmed, but it has been reported by multiple outlets, and that is that Max, formerly known as HBO Max, will be showing CNN updates on the bottom of your screen while watching your favorite HBO content. What does that mean, Jared? That means that you can be rewatching Succession, get news alerts from CNN, rewatching Curb Your Enthusiasm, or seeing new episodes. CNN updates on the bottom. Get that rewatch of Entourage going. CNN updates on the bottom. Jared, do you think this is good for the future of streaming?
Yeah, if people want to continue to be brainwashed by CNN, sure. Yeah, people want to just continue to watch CNN, the communist news network, or the Clinton news network. Quite frankly, keep watching CNN. Get your news updates. That's fucking fake.
How about not just the CNN thing, because I don't want to see you go off too far at the deep end.
Oh,
I like just getting news alerts while watching anything on streaming. Let's say it's Bleacher Report updates or sports. CNN, Turner owns a lot of different outlets. There's a lot of variety that they could do.
You don't need a news update when you're watching a TV show. You don't need a news update.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be checking Twitter as much.
If it's a CNN news update, I don't need it on a TV show. We know what CNN stands for in today's day and age. It's a bunch of bullshit. We don't need CNN coming across our TV shows. Okay. We don't need it. And if you want to watch it, then go ahead. Suits you.
I like it. My only problem is there's going to be a time where there's going to be very depressing news and you're going to get an update and you're watching Entourage, you're watching some great HBO comedy and you see X amount of people dead in a hurricane, X amount of people dead in an earthquake. Unfortunate things happen in this world. Do I want to see that when I'm watching a comedy, when I'm watching something that is making me forget about what's going on in the world? No, but during NBA free agency, during NFL free agency, during trade deadlines, I'm on my phone, I'm on my laptop, checking Twitter anyways while watching. So why not get those updates in the bottom of the screen? Why not? I think it would be a big plus, and it would help keep my screen time down for my phone, which is something I'm always trying to do and failing to do so.
It's just the news network that's giving the news. Yeah, it's just, I'm never going to get over that aspect. If it was just a ding alert from not a news network in today's world, go ahead. And this is in regards to every news network. I'm talking about Fox News too. I don't need that either. So I'm not talking about one side or the other. It's all a bunch of shit. So quite frankly, we don't need it coming across when we're watching a TV show. All news networks. So no, we don't need it. We could find it out some sort of way. You can go online, go to a web. You could find out news in other ways. People are on their phones when they're watching TV anyway. So you don't need the ding. So no, we don't need it.
All right, going to throw in a random topic here before I get to the final topic of the night, because I want to calm down Jarrett just a little. One thing that fascinated me was at a Miami soccer game in the MLS, a Leo Messi game. John Summit was hitting on alixearle. If you don't know who that is, Jarrett could explain to you shortly. Alixearle did not seem remotely interested. 10, 20 years from now, who will we remember? Alixearle or John Summit?
John Summit. Probably John Summit, because alixearle she's cool and all, but I feel eventually her reign of fame on TikTok is eventually going to start to dwindle. I mean, she just posts videos on a daily basis of what she's doing, which is entertaining for a very short period of time. But if you keep watching her videos, you're just going to be like, okay, can you come up with some new content? Whereas John Summit, right now, he's one of the most popular DJs in the world. If he has some hit songs, a hit song can be remembered 5, 10, 15 years from now. Alixearle doing her makeup, curling her eyelashes, or whatever, doing the things with her eyes when she's going in the car somewhere, that's not going to be remembered forever. She's the it girl right now. She's cool right now, but 10, 15 years from now, I feel like John Summit will be the one remembered a lot more. What's your opinion on this?
Well, first off, are you happy that I threw that topic out there? I thought of it. We had a lot of time. I just wanted to know your thoughts on it. Are you happy that I just kind of threw that at you like a curveball?
I don't mind that at all. It's an event in Miami. It's Alex. Yeah, so you know me, whenever it comes to talking anything about life in Miami, I'll gladly answer that question. And I've talked about alixearle a couple of times, and she's very popular right now. So not a bad topic to introduce to the podcast, unannounced.
I'm going to go with a hot take here, and I think it's alixearle. And I'll tell you what. Alixearle will not be the most famous person 10, 15 years from now, or 20. People won't be checking her TikToks as much. It's just reality. However, when I thought about it, John Summit's music may be timeless for the time being. But like you said, she is the it girl for a lot of people. Maybe not for us. Maybe not as important in our lives for us. But the way that content is changing, there's not that female on a major TV show like Jennifer Aniston, Pam Anderson, that a lot of young boys are going to remember as the first girl they fell in love with. Alixearle being on TikTok, the amount of views she gets on TikTok, she may be that girl. You don't know who Yasmin Bleeth is, do you? Do you know who that actress is?
No.
Exactly. Yasmin Bleeth was a humongous it girl in the 90s, long forgotten on the show Baywatch, but there's a lot of people that was their first crush. So it just goes to show that the it girl at some point may be a nobody 10, 15 years from now, but there will be a large generation of people that always have a special place in their hearts for that female. All right, moving on from there to a topic that Jared could enrage at. Jared is the only person I know who did not enjoy the movie on Netflix, You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. We talked about this podcast on the podcast before. This is now the third week in a row we are mentioning the show, surprisingly. Jared, why didn't you like the highest rated movie by an Adam Sandler produced comedy, according to Rotten Tomatoes?
My theory on why it was so highly rated is because it was a movie about a girl getting bat mitzvahed, and if you rated it poorly, people would just scream anti-Semitism. So that's why I feel they rated it so highly. You couldn't have watched this movie and thought it was good. I didn't even know, what was I watching? It was just a girl who's in her teenage years, awkward stage of everyone's lives, gets her bar mitzvah. It was unbearable. I didn't even finish the movie. I stopped.
Oh, come on.
I stopped
Really? You didn't finish it?
I stopped watching with 40 minutes. I couldn't watch it anymore.
What part was 40 minutes left? What part made you say enough? Let me put the Met game on.
There was nothing to remember from the movie. It was just a bunch. I don't even know what was the movie? What was it? There was no plot.
A simple plot. It's that she has a friend. The friend kisses the guy that she likes. She doesn't get invited to her bat mitzvah. And then it's about realizing that the bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah, depending on your experience, but it was supposed to relate to all, is about doing a mitzvah for others so then you can transition into adulthood. And that's how the movie ended. And it's a good lesson for us all to learn.
Well, maybe you should be the director of this movie where there wasn't seemingly so many meaningless conversations. The movie was awful. It was awful. I think you would be a better director of this because you created a very nice plot where, yeah, that was the plot of this movie, but there was just a bunch of sidetracked bullshit in this movie. I don't even know what it was. It was just so stupid. It was unbearable to watch. I don't understand how so many people could have enjoyed this. But hey, I don't want to be judgmental of people's opinions. So if you enjoyed it,
know the other three top Rotten Tomatoes movies from Happy Madison Productions from Adam Sandler's company. So You're So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah got 95, which I think is a little too high, but I did heavily enjoy it. There's Hustle, which was a great movie, got 92.
Netflix.
Then there's Funny People, which got a 69. Insert the joke there.
Nice.
Solid movie. Actually rewatched that recently. And then Reign Over Me, which is a very tragic movie. That got a 64. Some of the lowest rated ones, oh boy. A movie called Father of the Year, The Ridiculous Six, and Master of Disguise with Dana Carvey.
I mean, how isn't Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore at the top?
That was before he did Happy Madison Productions. It's Happy Madison Productions was later on in his career because this is Adam Sandler's produced movies. So that's where that is. Obviously, I mean, Billy Madison wasn't a highly rated movie at Rotten Tomatoes, but it is a very quotable movie for Adam Sandler.
Was 51st Dates Happy Madison production?
It's
if it is,
yes, 45 on Rotten Tomatoes.
So how is 51st Dates rated lower than You're So Not to My Bat Mitzvah? Like, that makes no sense. It doesn't make sense. That was a good movie, a legitimate plot, a legitimate storyline, no sidetrack nonsense. That's like, it doesn't make any sense. It's unbelievable. Whatever.
All right, we differed on opinions in that one. I enjoyed the movie. My only part that I did not like was I thought the Sarah Sherman character, a little too young for that role as the rabbi, just doing it a bit much. And I love that Adam Sandler pretty much just dressed the way he always did for the movie. That's
like, why couldn't Rob Schneider just be the rabbi, or why couldn't you could have had, you know what, you could have had.
Rob Schneider has been a little bit of heat of trouble, like not trouble, but he's very controversial these days. If the movie was made 10, 15 years ago, he would have played DJ Shmuley, but unfortunately it's not. And I think given his relationship with Fox and a lot of conservative media, Rob Steiner's not getting too many roles with Adam Sandler these days. It's unfortunate, regardless of his political views. He is still a funny guy, and he's funny in 51st Dates with Jared loves. But just reality. And he also would have been maybe too old to play DJ Shmuley, but I think it would have been fine. I don't think anyone would complain that Rob Schneider was too old to play that role. Yeah. It would have been funnier.
And what you said, just don't even trust Rotten Tomatoes. I don't trust any review outlet anymore. I don't trust any top media outlet in any regard. So whatever Rotten Tomatoes has to say, part of the big bad corporate media machine, I don't trust it. It's all bullshit.
All right. On that note, we're not doing a podcast. That's why you can watch
ridiculous.
Our podcast.
Enough's enough with this crap.
For Jarrett Lease, I am Mark Weber. Good night and enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend.